Today on our show, we've got a whole bunch of fun stuff for you guys. We've got movies and TV shows that were just groundbreaking, all right, that were way ahead of their time, plus an awesome guest that you may have heard, you may not have. She's been around, but you're going to hear plenty more of her real soon. All of that is next on the Nerdynomicon. Welcome to the Nerdynomicon. I'm Robbie.
I'm Adrian.
And I'm Holly Michelle.
You may have heard Holly from some of our Nerds of the Roundtable episodes. She was on an early episode. I think it was episode 3 when we were at Comic-Con.
We were.
Something like that.
I don't know what number episode it was, but yes, we were.
I think it was 3, but I'm not positive on that. Adrian was recording with Brooke at the same time, so it was like part 1 and part 2. Mm-hmm. So we were part 3. We were episode 3, part 2, you and I.
Right. Okay.
So I think we got that figured out.
Big shoes to fill.
Right.
Big shoes to fill. Someone that you guys have heard before, but not a whole lot of. But you're going to be hearing a lot more from Holly. Because, well, Holly, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what your function was here, and then we'll tell everybody what your function is going to be. Because this is going to be a little bit, we're going to start out a little bit behind the scenes of what's been going on at Artful Gremlin Productions.
Okay.
Then we're just going to have fun with the rest of the show.
Okay. Well, I am a voice actor, voice talent, and primarily I'm just here to pull in when they need me because I'm waiting for a couple of shows that Robbie is writing. And
You're waiting for my fat ass to finish up the fucking scripts. Let's just call a spade a spade.
And once those get written and we're all set up to do that, I will be a few characters in 2 different shows. 2 very different shows, actually.
Yeah, we got one comedy, we got one horror, and we're going to be talking about both of those in a little bit more detail because I've been teasing the audience with what we're working on, but I think it's time to start showing our hand a little bit. Now, Adrian and I, we do the Nerdynomicon podcast together, okay? Mm-hmm. Adrian and I, we like to hang out once a week. We talk about all the nerdy shit. I usually suck whatever we're talking about's dick, and Adrian's like, well, Robbie, you may not want to swallow because this is what I think about it. I would say that that's a fair assumption, right, Adrian?
I really hate your analogies, but yes, that's fair.
It's like, you may look like you're having fun down there, but don't cup the balls too hard because now I'm going to drop some knowledge bombs, and I'm like, oh.
What is the record? What is the longest amount of time we've gone into an episode before you've made a comparison of something to Dick? Because I feel like
minutes.
It's early.
I'm just going to shoot
every
a number
time.
out there. I'm going to say 40 minutes, but it's probably completely inaccurate.
I feel like 15 minutes is pushing it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Even when I went and did an episode with, with both I guess we call ourselves the Nerds of the Round Table, but he even wrote a letter of, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't be there, and he worked it in. Yep, he had me read it a couple times.
Yeah, I wasn't able to be at that recording, so Holly stood in for me. That was the first time she was on Nerds of the Roundtable, and I think that episode is on the Geekiverse channel, if memory serves.
I believe so, yeah.
So, I wrote a letter that I wanted Holly to deliver on air. And the Geekiverse channel is a lot more family-friendly than we are and a lot more family-friendly than Synthaholics, which is the 3rd channel. So, I had Holly read it, and I told her specifically, do not read this before it's recording time. And she's like, okay, I'm really nervous. And in it, I actually wrote that you can look forward, now that I'm not there, to an episode almost completely devoid of penis. Mm-hmm. And then I made her just constantly say the word penis over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I cleaned it up for their tender sensibilities, okay? I used the word penis. I didn't say big fat cock or anything.
Well, you didn't say anything. You put that on me.
That's true, I did. And you know what? You delivered the line perfectly.
Well,
because
you.
I could audibly hear your blushing. So, if you guys are looking forward to another show that's probably going to have far less dick in it, for multiple reasons, mostly because it's going to be hosted by a female, Holly is going to be taking over the Nerdynomicon in a different way. But not on this podcast. Adrian's stuck with me talking about dick for an hour. Unfortunately, Adrian's in his own private little hell with that. No, Holly is actually going to be our Nerdynomicon YouTube star.
Woot woot.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that fame and that fortune?
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think, I was thinking about it, excuse me, the other day. And I think it's more going to be about the process and how much fun it's going to be to be involved with doing it rather than the outcome of it. So hopefully... And there are a bunch of meanies out on the internet, so I don't know.
Oh, there are definitely a bunch of meanies. And, we may or may not have to Jay and Silent Bob strike back a bunch of people. Just fly to a hometown near you and just punch down the little 14-year-old King Coxer Cool 411K. I don't know what the fuck his name is.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with, criticism and all that jazz, so that'll be fine. I'll be cool. I do get angry easily. Well, not easily. It takes a bit to get me angry, but I think I kind of hold on to that anger. I hold grudges and I let things stew.
I have a feeling in 3 months she's just going to be calling people out that pissed her off.
Well, it's like Miss
She's
Bubbles.
just going to be like, this is going to be a mailbag, fuckers! And you're not going to like it. You're on Santa's naughty list.
Probably. That would be, yeah. I could see that happening.
So we got a lot of really cool ideas that we're kicking around for the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to have all of the geeky stuff that you've grown to know and love from us. Mm-hmm. I may or may not try to embarrass Holly by forcing her to talk about cock on air. I probably won't do that because primarily she's going to be running the channel. But that one cool thing is, you and I were talking about this, we're definitely going to do some lore series on there too. Right. Separate from what the show is really going to be, because we've got some really cool ideas for different things that we're going to do there. Mm-hmm. But you're going to be doing some lore series there too. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to try to incorporate our patrons into that. So this is another great opportunity and a good spot for me to plug the Patreon. Patreon.com/artfulgremlins. Because we're going to give you guys the power of what she's going to lore out about. One of my favorite things to listen to personally on YouTube is a lot of the lore series, whether it be from Dark Souls or there's a couple of people that have done Doctor Who, but not much and not very deep cuts. But I love listening to lore. I love learning about the stories behind a lot of the really cool stuff that, I just get myself involved with. Like Twin Peaks is coming out next month, and there's so much lore in there. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that specifically because we've agreed on the first two that we're going to have our patrons vote on. So we're giving our patrons over at patreon.com/artfulgremlins the power. The poll is going to go up and it's going to run through most of May on what you guys want us to do the first lore series on. It's going to be all narrated by Holly too. And I promise you there's going to be as little dick as possible. If it's applicable to the story, there will be dick. If not, then there will not be dick. But what did we agree on for the first two? There was going to be Twin Peaks and...
What was it? Twin Peaks.
And The Librarians.
Yes, The Librarians.
Twin Peaks and The Librarians is going to be the first two series that you guys get to choose from over which intellectual property you want to hear a lore series about. Mm-hmm. And
first.
I'm going to be honest with you. I love me some Twin Peaks.
So
Holly
far,
loves
so
her
good.
some librarians. Holly loves her some librarians.
And Adrian has seen neither of these shows.
Have you seen any? You haven't even seen any of the old librarian movies?
I don't think so.
It's like
it is not striking a chord at all with me. I'm like, there's a show about librarians? That sounds boring as fuck. It probably isn't.
Well,
no,
do you know what
there's
Warehouse
so
13
much more
is?
than that.
Yes, I never watched it, but I know the
you know
gist.
what it is. Well, it's kind of like that. They secure artifacts and they put them in storage, and the librarians basically do the same thing, except they're all kept in a library, in a magical library that's guarded and protected by a head librarian. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, basically.
Does the head librarian have any like special powers or something? Because I mean, if you're guarding magical artifacts, I thought when you said it's guarded by something, I was like, oh, this would be good. It's guarded by like a giant or a dragon or an angel or something. You're like, it's guarded by a head librarian.
Not
like,
really.
Oh.
I mean,
well, he's got some pretty cool abilities.
Well,
I mean, he himself is not magic, but
right. Well, each librarian has a guardian themselves, like a human who protects them, but the TV show is a little different because there's one guardian to 4 librarians. I don't know.
They must not be that important. If it's normally 1-to-1 and then it comes 1 for every 4.
Well, it's the first time there's been more than one librarian too. So.
It's like, our loss ratio is fine, okay? We can get rid of a couple of these. We can't afford another guardian.
Yeah,
the Guardian is pretty badass. Well, yeah. But that's the librarians.
So, I'm personally lobbying for Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Holly is going to be lobbying for the librarians.
Hey, I'm still finishing Twin Peaks, so you never know. By the time
That's
it comes,
true.
I might be volleying for Twin Peaks.
That's true. But the power is not in our hands, okay?
True.
The poll is going to be coming up in May. It's going to be over, again, patreon.com/artfulgremlins. Even donating $1 a month gives you access to voting. And if you guys want to hear about Twin Peaks, cast your vote, man. If you guys want to hear about librarians, cast your vote. I may want Twin Peaks, but if everybody's like, no, librarians is where it's at, that's what we're doing. We're listening to you guys. Right. And that's going to be our first lore series. And once we're ready to go on that series and drop it, we're going to start the poll for the next one. So I think we're going to be we've got to come out with a schedule for it, but we're going to be doing these pretty regularly. So, as well as the normal show as well. Right. So you're going to be a busy girl.
Yay!
And unfortunately for you, we finally found a great spot to utilize your talents, your voice and everything, and the scripts are almost complete for the 2 shows.
Ooh, yay.
So you're going to be a really busy girl.
I'm down with it.
So, Adrian, I know that I've been talking to you a little bit about these shows for quite some time, but I've even pretty much been keeping you in the dark, haven't I?
Yeah, I know not much about any of it. I'm basically a listener at this point.
So, I think it's time to kind of tilt my hat about the 2 shows. The first one that actually does have a title right now is called Man-Seeking Dragon. And the way I've been pitching this, because I've also been shopping it around for early sponsorship, without even recording one voice on this track. But, by the way, I've got a huge cast on this show. Mm-hmm. I've almost everybody that you've heard on the show, very close to everybody, is going to at least be making an appearance in Man-Seeking Dragon. I mean, I've even talked with Christopher Bloodworth, and he said if he has the time, he was even going to come on as a Sphinx. So the concept of this show is there is a lone adventurer who he's constantly heartbroken. He's been searching for companions in all the wrong places to go on his dungeon questing adventures. Well, unfortunately, he just can't seem to find the group that fits with him. So he's gone on this game show, and the game show is called Man-Seeking Dragon. Now, think of this show as a mixture between The Apprentice and, like, The Bachelor. Only it's set in a Dungeons & Dragons world. So, Holly, you're going to be playing 2 characters in this show.
Correct.
Why don't you tell us about those 2 characters? This is kind of give you a little bit of a hint, because I'm going to tell you a couple more of these characters as well.
So, I have 2 different characters. One character is a bard. Her name is Feely. She was, kind of a little background for her, she was schooled by Madame Cleo. She's not going to have like an accent like Madame Cleo, though. She's going to have her own little weird thing. But she's very dark and very, wouldn't say morbid, but she doesn't look on the bright side of things. And then we've got Courtney, the mermaid, who...
Oh, this is one of my favorite characters, too.
Who is just obnoxiously enthusiastic and happy all the time. Well, not all the time, because she has a rageful side.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really no telling what her trigger is. So, she's fun. She's going to be a lot of fun to play, because she's, she's very up here, and just everything is so great, and here we are, and we're all just winners.
And one of your favorite parts about her, too, is her catchphrase whenever she gets frustrated is, oh, bubbles. Oh, yeah, by the way, Courtney's a mermaid.
Courtney's a mermaid, so...
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Couple of other characters that I've got here. Dumbolt Drumpf, who is a troll, and also a troll. He's from a relatively peaceful family of bridge trolls, but he has always dreamed of roaming the countryside, going on adventures. Unfortunately, his temperament and pungent stench drives most would-be companions away. He's short-tempered, accidentally kills people frequently, loves grandma's sugar cookies, and is also dumb as hell. That is absolutely no reflection as to the voice that we have for that, but that one is going to be played by David Duncan from Synthaholics. Aaron O'Brien is going to be playing in this as well, and we even have a part for Adrian Steve here.
This is the first I'm hearing of this, so...
Oh, well, we've got a part
news.
for Adrian Steve. Breaking news, you're Shanghaied, baby. It's happening, Adrian. It's happening.
Were they going to utilize my terrible foreign accents? Hello. I would like to be saying words on the podcast.
We are now. We are now. Let's see. Another character that we've got here, Kim, who is a rogue Gorgon. She is on the show because she has a mission to accomplish. She was contracted by a guild of assassins to hunt and kill a wizard named Buckhalifus. The problem is she has no idea where he is. She considered torturing other wizards to learn of his location, however the sight of blood makes her squeamish. She is also very embarrassed of her speech impediment. She tries to defend it, but fails miserably. And that role, at least as long as she's still game for it, is going to be played by Madison Martin from Rover Red. So that's definitely exciting.
Yes.
So we've got so many other podcasts, so many other voice talents that are going to be crossing over on this. There's going to be a lot of surprise guests. There's going to be people that you may even be sitting there going, holy shit, what the hell is he doing there? So we've got a lot of really cool stuff going on. William Shatner may or may not appear on the show. We're still not sure. The calls are out. And sadly, I'm only half kidding about that.
I'm telling you, he's not going to like me.
He already
Bubbles.
does not like me.
Bubbles.
So that's Man Seeking Dragon. It's definitely shaping up to be a really fun show, a really funny show. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons-esque version of a mix between The Apprentice and The Bachelor.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought you said Dunces and Dragons. That's what it sounded like to me.
Also accurate.
Yeah.
Right?
Also accurate. The other show that I've been working on is a horror podcast. Now, here's the biggest problem that I've been having with this show, because I am almost completely done writing the first season. I have a decent amount of the cast filled out for this as well. Adrian has already composed the theme music to this, which is absolute. Yes, you have.
That's also news to me.
You don't remember composing the horror show theme song?
No.
You did, man. I've got it on my laptop already. I listen to it before I sit down and get started writing, man. I listen to that, I do a shot of whiskey, and I start writing for an hour.
You know, every once in a while I go through a catalog of what I have written, but it's all online, and I think I didn't put that one up there because it's not released yet, and so I probably totally forgot about it.
Yeah,
yeah. Sure, it was me.
I'm 100% positive it was you. I'm 100% positive. So, the problem that I have with this show is I still don't have a title. I still don't know what this is called. So, for probably about a year, I've been talking on and off about this show and referring to it as the yet-to-be-unnamed horror show. So, here's...
You sent them over to me as voices.
I did send them over as voices. There is a Voices podcast.
Oh, gotcha.
But I'm not even sure if it's still active, let alone trademarked. So, I mean, I can still look into that. But here's the synopsis, because, Adrian, I don't think I ever told you what this is about. Or maybe I did on Polygon Table. I can't remember.
You probably did, and I forgot about it.
Well, fair enough. So, Adrian's just sitting there, all right, so I'm on a comedy show. I composed something I don't remember writing. Seriously, did you, roofie me and just force me to work for you for, months? And the answer is yes.
That'd be pretty
Yes, I did, Adrian.
Since I'm in Austin and you're in Buffalo. That takes planning.
I have tricks. Adrian.
I got treats.
So, so the concept of this show is two podcasters are sitting down recording remotely, one in New York, one in Texas. Right, what you know, right? So they're doing a gamer podcast, and they're live streaming the show on Twitch in front of their audience. And they happen to capture a bit of EVP. For those of you who do not know what EVP is, electronic voice phenomena. It's when electrical, microphones and cameras and stuff like that just happen to pick up voices that are disembodied. Most people believe those to be the disembodied voices of spirits, or in other cases, other malevolent entities. So they pick up this EVP, and the people that are listening to their live stream start to get really, really freaked out. So they shut this episode down, and then they just kind of investigate a little bit as to what's going on. And as almost a publicity stunt, they start investigating EVP to find out whose house is haunted, what kind of ghost is there. And they end up stumbling into something far more darker and more sinister than they were prepared for. Because it wasn't just a joke and it wasn't just a glitch. They did find something. They did record something. And that's the basic premise of what's going on in the show. I've got a couple of different mysteries in there. Holly is playing the female lead. So it's been really fun and really exciting writing this. Adrian, now that I've described it to you, do you remember talking with me about this?
I remember the show. I do not remember doing the music for it, and I'm going to apologize to you right now, because I was actually getting mad. I was like, is he ever going to ask me to do this music? Did he find someone else? Fuck that guy. And apparently I already did.
Yeah, you've already done it, bro. I mean, there was a few tracks I was going to ask you to compose for it, for background music and whatnot. But yeah, the theme song you've already done. I've listened to it a lot, and it's really, really dark and lonely and frightening, and it's really good. It's really, really good. I think it's some of your best work, honestly. It garners an initial response from me. A legitimate one, too.
Good to know that I peaked and I didn't even know it.
Didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And the downside now.
So, not to sound grandiose or anything, but Holly, I've sent a couple of the scripts over to you. Mm-hmm. You're one of the few people in the world that has actually read this. There's only been a handful of people that have read any of the scripts, because I've been keeping a very tight lid on the story. Mm-hmm. Just because I think some of the mystery is going to be kind of compelling. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just suck. I have no idea. But I've been trying to keep a tight lid on the mysteries surrounding this show. So what have you thought about what you've read so far? Because you've only gotten the first, I think, 3 episodes.
Yeah, I think that people will like it. I think that it sounds like it's very compelling to read, so I can only imagine that it's going to be compelling to listen to. I read a lot of books, and sometimes you will suffer through a book just to hear the end of the story, just because you want to know how it ends. And this wasn't like that. It was well done in like you wanted to keep going, but you weren't irritated that you had to keep going. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Sounds like sex with Robbie.
Oh, Adrian's waking up and coming to the game. Look who joined in the fun.
But,
sadly, that is true. It sounds a lot like having sex with me, even in the masturbation side.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's like, I want to see the ending, but I'm not sure if I can stand the middle. The second act is where it all falls apart.
Well, no, that's the opposite of how I felt when I was reading the script. I felt like the whole thing was great. It was like...
All right, so Voices Podcast, if that's going to be what we call it, Voices Podcast, the opposite of having sex with Robbie. That'll be the first review.
Well...
If we had a movie poster, that's what's going up there. The opposite of having sex with Robbie.
Oh, gosh.
Holly Michelle. And then your husband looks up and he's just like,
how do you know that?
What? And Holly just innocent looks over. He told me. Yeah, that sounds like him.
Right?
Because I know your husband, too. You give him that answer, and he's legitimately going to look over and be like, yeah, that sounds like Rob.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Pretty much.
No.
Hey, he told me that's what having sex with him is like. Yeah, stands to reason.
He probably wouldn't even question it. He'd be just like, you said that? That's weird.
Yeah. Also accurate.
But no, I felt like it was really interesting to read. It's going to be really cool to listen to because I don't really care for scary stuff, and mysteries are kind of, I'm on the fence about mysteries. I mean, everything, there's a little bit of mystery, but no, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, but what about, could you call it something like, I don't know, like presents? Not presents like Christmas, of course.
It's my birthday today. Did you get me something,
awkward
Adrian?
silence I feel I have to explain. Like the presents of spirits.
Right. Our gift to you.
Fair enough. Yeah, as soon as you say presents, automatically my head goes right back to it. Step 1, cut a hole in a box. Step 2, put your dick in that box.
You would.
And that's the way the podcast goes. I kind of want to name it that now just because of that. Yeah, I'll definitely write down presents. I'll also check on Voices to see if that's even a current show or if that show is defunct. You know what I mean? So it's a possibility that the show that I heard was over in like 2009. Yes, Adrian, I'm calling on you.
You could put them together. Present Voices. Huh? No? Okay.
That just sounds like a phone sex hotline. Like, thank you for calling Present Voices. Press 1 for schoolgirl. Press 2.
I would listen to a podcast where people were being haunted by EVPs of phone sex operators.
What would they do? How would they haunt them?
And that's season 2.
You have to pay for their phone sex with like little portions of your soul.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
They
my
must be
god,
really
that's
good.
absolutely great. That is absolutely...
It's not good. Don't encourage this.
It's too late, man. I'm already writing it. I'm already writing it.
Adrian, just remember that.
I just
when people look online and they're like, "Why the fuck did people think of this?" I'm going to direct them to you. I'm going to direct them directly to Adrian. This is your fault. You did this. You did this. So that's talking shop. That's some things that you guys can look forward to. Hopefully we didn't bore you too much with that section. But present Voices, and Present Voices Season 2, which is going to be called something completely different because I really want to write this now. Those are coming, man. The horror show is definitely coming in a big bad way, and so is Man-Seeking Dragon. Both of those are going to be starting production here very shortly. I'm aiming for an October release date for the first few episodes of the horror show, just because, Halloween time. We got to celebrate Halloween month. We got to do that. So that's my goal, is to be able to bring that to you guys by that point. Man-Seeking Dragon, we got the cast. The scripts are pretty much almost ready to go. So we're going to be starting production here very shortly on that.
Word.
And you can find Holly on YouTube probably starting up in June, because we definitely want to jump on this too.
We're hoping.
Look forward to that, and you guys are going to hear a lot more news about that as well. So you guys are going to know when to tune into YouTube, which, by the way, all of our podcasts are up on YouTube now anyway, so you can find us there. So for our main topic tonight, because we try to bring it to you guys saucy, we try to bring it to you guys nerdy, we're going to talk about TV shows and movies that were way ahead of their time. Or not even way, just maybe even a little bit ahead of their time. Holly, you had a really hard time with this.
I did, because, when I grew up, I watched movies that were, older. I watched movies that were probably ahead of their time before I was born, or even, around the time when I was still, 6 and 7. So it was hard for me, because I didn't know if I should look at it as in a perspective of, like, when I hear somebody say, oh, they're ahead of their time, I feel like that means that they're underappreciated in the present, and then later on they're appreciated, or
and that's definitely one meaning.
Yeah, so
for sure.
So yeah, it was a little difficult for me, and I learned that I generally like films that nobody likes, or that are like cult classics. So.
Well, most of these movies are cult classics because they were underappreciated. You know what I mean? Like, a good example is Blade Runner. Mm-hmm. That movie tanked in the box office and it became an instant cult classic. It was so ahead of its time, it's scary. Mm-hmm. Just from the visuals and the creation of its own street lingo. That movie was way ahead of its time, and it got so much more praise later on. I'm still comfortable having the debate on whether or not that movie was that good, or if the hype, because it was so ahead of its time, was just that powerful. So, I mean, people fall down on either side of those. I'm still not sure what side I was on, because I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I always appreciated it.
I was going to say, sometimes it's hard to separate your actual, like, okay, that was a great film, or I appreciated that film. Mm. Like, you can appreciate the way it was filmed, or the directing style, or, I don't know, the music, or the costumes. And you can appreciate the film for what it is, but that doesn't mean that you really, loved and enjoyed the film, but you still wouldn't cast it aside, So, I don't know.
True. Now, the other side of the spectrum is kind of where Adrian was going, which is movies that were just fucking groundbreaking. Movies that just redefined everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, movies where instantly people are copying it and, parodying it because it was just everywhere and it was blowing people's minds. The one that came to mind for me immediately, and, sorry if it's been talked about a million times, this is 1,000,001, but the one that stood out to me immediately upon this discussion was The Matrix, and the visual effects were not like anything we'd ever seen, and the blending of technology and sci-fi and martial arts and all of these different aspects of your typical various genres of action movies all coming together to kind of commingle. Now, we're not going to talk about the second one or the third one, but the first one, whatever your opinions are on those, mostly bad, but the first one really came out of nowhere and just blew people away.
Yeah.
And lots of those camera techniques you can never non-ironically use again, because everybody will just immediately just call bullshit on you just because of The Matrix. I mean, it was so iconic to the film.
Yeah, and that's when people are parodying it, that's what they went to, So, but I don't know. I mean, so as I said, that was the thing that stood out to me. Now, if you want the joke answer, I would say film that was ahead of its time. Back to the Future.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh.
Sorry.
You had me with The Matrix, man, and
Sorry,
I'm like, yes, that's it. And then Back to the Future.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
And you know what? We've actually had people live tweeting while listening to the episode where you finally gave out your Twitter. So it may be a little bit late in the episode, but if you guys want to live tweet at Adrian Steve at Kinga Awesome, which just sounds like a fucking awesome Nintendo big boss, feel free to do so. Because we love it when you tweet at Adrian during the episode. Right when you guys are listening, just be like, that was a bad joke, Adrian Steve.
I thought it was a great joke.
Yeah, and that's King Awesome with 2 G's. I made a change, Robbie. I know I told you different last week, but this week, the first G is silent, not the second one.
Oh, now see, that's actually my bad.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to...
King Gossam?
Don't analyze it.
And if you guys want to live tweet at the show or me, I am at Robbie the Saber, spelled with an R-E. You can also tweet at Nerdynomicon. And Holly, where can they live tweet you?
Lunar Thistle.
Lunar Thistle.
Yeah.
So you guys can live tweet while you're listening to the show, or you can just do it afterwards. Either way it goes, we just love hearing from people. So
I feel like Lunar
always
Thistle is like a crafting. It's like something in an RPG that you use, like a material that you craft something out of.
God damn it, it's been on the tip of my tongue since she came up with that Twitter handle. Oh, thank you for saying that, because it sounds like a chocobo feather or something like that. It feels like something you need to use during battle while playing Final Fantasy, doesn't it?
Or you have to like gather in World of Warcraft to build a new set of robes for your mage. Like, gotta collect 8 more lunar thistles. Ugh.
Oh well, I love the moon, and I'm very tied to my Scottish roots, so that's where it came from. It was very, very well thought out, I thought, but apparently not.
It's not well thought out. It's just the way the nerds are gonna read into it,
I guess.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, it's a little bit more poetic than Moonbeam Scottish Girl, so you got that going for you. So, getting back on topic, The Matrix, definitely a good pull on that, because that movie was iconic the minute it came out. Everything from I know Kung Fu to the camera angles to the story itself, everything about that movie was iconic and way ahead of its time. And nobody's really been able to, until recently, you can make arguments, capture that again. I mean, 1999, when that movie came out, it just blew it all away. And at least in my opinion, the closest we've come since that would be Inception or Doctor Strange, even just as far as the visuals. So, extremely good pull. It would be close to over a decade before anyone would come close to doing that again. So that was definitely a good pull.
I think the thing that was really striking to me about that movie was how it kind of, I don't want to say validated, but we'll use that because I can't think of a better word off the top of my head, but almost like validated that nerd culture, hacker, other feeling as like, yeah, you feel weird because you're in this computer simulation. This is the real world. And, and it had that like side by side, like real world, fake world that I think a lot of people, at least at that time, like internet was not a cool thing. Right? It wasn't. So if that's what you were spending all your time doing, you felt like you were kind of excluded and on the outside. And it's like, yeah, I understand how you feel. And here's why, because it's fake, even though it's a movie,
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, you got that. And I'll tell you one other thing it validated, and something that I'm sorry if I'm the only person at this table right now that did not want one, I'm going to call bullshit. I wanted one of those spring-loaded phones so badly. The little switchblade cell phones. You know you both wanted them too.
What are you talking about? I know you're talking about a phone, but I'm not having a hard time picturing it.
Where you hit the button and then it just goes, kind of like a switchblade.
Huh.
You can't tell me you don't remember the phone.
I don't remember it. I haven't seen The Matrix since it came out, since the year it came out. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I recently acquired, I think the second and third, but not the first. So I haven't seen it in a really long time. I know, and I know, and that's why I haven't.
Yeah,
watched
2 was
yet.
pretty bad, and 3, oh my god, that was just an abortion of a movie.
Yeah,
it was just
tells me
so
not to
terrible.
Watch them. And I know I've seen the first one, and then I understand the concept, but I'm having an issue pulling an image of this phone from my mind.
When you see it, you'll recognize it.
Okay.
And before we move on to other examples and the other side of the spectrum for these shows and movies, a little bit of geek news, just in case you didn't know it. The Matrix is being rebooted. It's happening to you, whether you want it to or not. The talks are going down, man. And the upside is the original screenplay writer is, in fact, attached. And by the sounds of it, it's not going to be a remake. It's going to be a continuation. So seeing as though they had this whole Cylon mentality of this has all happened before, this will happen again. Like Keanu Reeves was like the 103rd Neo. It's a possibility right now, at least from what we're getting hints about, that the reboot might take place 5 or 6 Neos down the line. Maybe even being the final Neo. And those of us that follow this sort of thing pretty tightly, we all knew that Will Smith was originally slated to play Neo, but pulled out. So there's been rumors about maybe a little bit of Michael B. Jordan action, which I'd be totally fine with. Right?
Him. Yeah.
Adrian, I'm sure you're sitting there going, Michael B. who? What's going on now?
Oh, you don't know what's going through my head. 'Cause you triggered something when you said this might be the what Neo?
Final?
I'm going to say the 105th or maybe the final Neo.
It's the final Neo. That's what happened as soon as you said that, so I missed everything you said after that until you said that.
Hey, it's not an Artful Gremlin podcast without Robbie starting to sing. So that's what looks like we're going to be getting, guys, is a new Matrix movie, probably coming out in 2 or 3 years, hopefully starring Michael B. Jordan, probably going to be good, definitely not going to be as good as the original.
Do you think I'll have to watch 2 and 3 to grasp 4?
I think that it would probably help, but if they were smart, they would make the story so that you didn't have to. Seeing as though the entirety of what happened is supposed to have happened several times before, like over 100 times before, if they're smart, they'll make it so that you didn't have to watch those movies.
Gotcha.
Maybe just the first one just to get your feet on the ground for it.
I mean, I still want to watch them, because I still want to know.
2 isn't terrible. 3 is terrible.
But
it's just so bad.
You're so invested in the trilogy that you might as well just finish it out.
Right? You know? It's like one of those books that you read and you hate the writing, but you want to know the ending.
Yep,
and
exactly.
You're disappointed at the end, but you're happy that it's over.
That you know the story. Yeah.
Yes, it's one of those movies. Yes, I got the reference from earlier in the episode. Thanks. But Matrix 3 is one of those movies where you're just sitting there with a bottle of scotch with a scowl on your face, and your buddy walks through the room, and he's just like, what the hell are you doing? I'm watching Matrix 3. Why? Because I need to see how this is ending, and I'm going to ride this train all the way to hell. I'm going to ride this train to Busan. And the guy's just like, don't do it, man. And you're just like, I have to. And he's like, no. And you're just like, it's happening. And he's like, I'm leaving. And you're just like, I can't get off the couch until this movie is done. What an abortion of a movie. I'm really depressed right now. And the guy's like, I'm sorry, dude, but I gotta go. And you're just like, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So that entire exchange may or may not have happened because it could have all been in The Matrix. And I have no idea what the fuck I'm saying right now. It's that bad of a movie. My incoherent ramblings were more entertaining right there than Matrix 3.
Jeez.
I feel like you have to watch it and then go back to listen to... Was it Dickie's criticism of Matrix 3?
I think so. I think it was.
You have to watch it and then go back and listen to him just rip that movie like 4 new assholes. It's hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Dickie. It might have been Hobart as he's talking about the gun turrets. Why the hell are they not pointing there?
Yeah. Very, very well thought out criticisms of a terrible movie.
Yeah, that's Hobart from Couldn't Be Models as he takes everybody to task and he's telling them what's what. I mean, it's a fictional intellectual property and he's doing legit battle tactics right in the podcast saying, this is where you fucked up and this is why the machines won. This is why you're all in the Matrix. It was legitimately entertaining. So I forget what episode that was in. I think that was the 3rd time travel episode that we've done.
It was fairly recent. I don't remember, but I know I heard it. So go through all of it. Go through the entire catalog. You'll find it.
You'll find it and you'll be like, wow, that was a whole lot of shit to get to that nugget. But I'm glad I did it because that one was far better than Matrix 3. And we're like, right on, man. But anyway, let's move on to some different stuff. A couple of examples that I have for TV shows and movies that were way ahead of its time. I definitely have to say Carnival. Carnival, which was an HBO series, came out, I want to say, 2003 and 2004. Only lasted for 2 seasons before HBO gave it the axe, which is one of the few shows HBO has ever canceled. I mean, it's that one, Rome, Deadwood, and maybe 2 or 3 others. But this show was getting incredibly expensive to produce, but it was worth it. And I'm not going to say too much about this show because we're going to be featuring it pretty heavily in an upcoming episode. But this show is one of my all-time favorites ever made. I mean, it's up there with Twin Peaks. It's up there with Firefly, which is yet another TV show way ahead of its time. Both of them are, frankly. But Firefly more than the other. Carnival, just if that movie was to come out right now or if that show came out right now and followed Game of Thrones, like Game of Thrones happened to you and then you get Carnival, or Game of Thrones wraps, then you get Carnival, there's no way that show doesn't dominate. There's no way that show does not become the 2nd, maybe 3rd most watched show on HBO, next to only Game of Thrones and Westworld. It was just too ahead of its time. I don't think people were ready for it. I don't think people were ready for what it was going to bring. And that's just my feelings on that show. Firefly, exact same thing. Not only do I not think that the viewers were ready for it, it was obvious that Fox wasn't, seeing as though they showed the show out of order. The original airing for Firefly scrambled up the order of the episodes to where it didn't even technically make sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, in one episode, you're seeing them sitting there with cattle. 4 episodes later, they acquire the cattle. It doesn't make any sense. So that's all on Fox, and Joss Whedon was pissed about that, man. But
maybe they were just doing a memento on it.
No. This one's definitely Fox being dickheads. No. 100%. So those are 2 examples of shows, in my opinion, that were just so far ahead of their time. Mm-hmm. Holly, you had one, and then I'm going to get to some of our listeners, because I put this up in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Nerdynomicon. Mm-hmm. And we got quite a few responses as to some of our listeners that have ideas as well. But what was the one that you brought up to me earlier?
Well, I mean, groundbreaking, I don't really have any argument for groundbreaking. Underappreciated, yeah, for sure. I chose The Fifth Element. I love The Fifth Element.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got to pause really quickly. Adrian, have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
Oh, yes! Yay. Okay, we've got one. We've got one! Yay. Feel like the secretary in Ghostbusters right now, just hitting the bell.
Like I said, I don't know how groundbreaking it was, but I do know that, I know very few people. I mean, I should know more people who have seen it, but or at least appreciate it and seen it. Some people have seen it and don't care for it, and I think that's crap.
Who are these people?
Right?
Who are these people? Who are you out there?
Yeah.
Because there's no way you've seen this movie and didn't love the shit out of it.
I know, right? But there are people, and I know that, or at least I think it was not very popular when it come out.
It definitely wasn't popular. Yeah. But I mean, it's popular enough in, the community to where you brought up The Fifth Element and we spent the next 10 minutes quoting it to each other via text message.
She can.
Multibus. So definitely a good pull on that one. Absolutely a good pull. Adrian, you're being suspiciously quiet. You hated it, didn't you?
No, I didn't hate it. I just got lost in another... you know what is a really groundbreaking movie?
What's that?
The Core.
The Core?
Come on,
You were searching through movies just to find that one, weren't you?
I literally went to Google. I was like, wait, what's that movie where they drill into the center of the earth?
I don't think I know that one.
It's okay. It's awful.
He turned groundbreaking into a pun. It's a terrible movie, but the ground literally breaks.
We're gonna have to. When you edit this, you're gonna have to count how long it took me to get that.
I was counting 11 seconds, but we're good. Let's see. Aaron O'Brien, Synthaholics Podcast. He messaged us movies.
He picked
Truman
one.
Show.
I was gonna say the Truman Show.
Oh, I completely agree with that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. So far ahead of its time. I mean, that movie came out before even the real surge of reality TV. Mm-hmm. So that one was such a good pull. And that movie holds up, too. I watched it fairly recently.
I love that. I love it.
Gattaca.
Which I've never
Decent
heard of.
movie. Ethan Hawke movie. I believe Uma Thurman is in it as well. Definitely good. It's about gene manipulation. Minority Report. Decent movie starring Tom Cruise. Horrible TV show. Absolutely god-awful. TV shows, Twin Peaks. The Simpsons. Besides the Flintstones, this brought animation into the prime time. Absolutely true. I also have to piggyback on that one and say Family Guy. Way ahead of its time. Also, evidence of that, it got canceled after 3 seasons on the first run. Several years later, it was brought back.
But then you could throw Futurama into that bucket as well. Then
you could absolutely positively throw Futurama into that, because that show was again ahead of its time. It was like The Simpsons. It was even made by the creators of The Simpsons, but it wasn't The Simpsons, so people eventually gave it the boot. Then it goes to I believe it was Comedy Central, or was it Cartoon Network, where it got a whole new life there.
I think it was Comedy Central.
I'm pretty sure it was as well. And it got several new seasons and a couple of movies out of that deal as well. And it's been doing very well on Netflix, by the way, as well. So, yeah, you could definitely throw Futurama in there. What else do we have? The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. That one is sci-fi, steampunk mixed with the Old West. I'm not familiar with it, but now I kind of want to check it out. And, of course, Star Trek. Touche. Ben Grisanti, Return of the Living Dead. That was a zombie comedy before zombies were oversaturated. Also accurate. Ryan Dudley sent us a message here. He had a few, but my personal favorite that he put down was Donnie Darko, which is absolutely true. Donnie fucking Darko. I remember renting this movie specifically because of the description on the box, where it says an evil bunny rabbit showing him the future. And I'm expecting, just an evil-looking bunny rabbit, like Bunnicula or something, or even from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's what I'm expecting. So then I start watching the movie, and it's a dude in a suit, and I bust out laughing, and I'm like, really? They couldn't even figure out a way to do this with a bunny rabbit? And this has got Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's got a whole bunch of people that are listed on the box. They probably spent all their money on that, so they threw a dude in a suit. Flash forward.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Every time I walk by a DVD rack and Donnie Darko is on it, I've not seen it. I pick it up and I'm like, yeah, I really want to watch this. And then I'm like, but do I really want to buy it?
Yes, you do.
The answer is
yes, you do.
No.
Because I watched this movie for the first time, let's just call it a Wednesday, at about 9 o'clock on a Wednesday. okay? I've got school the next morning. I'm still in high school. Mm-hmm. Eventually, 6 o'clock rolls around. My alarm clock goes off, and it's time for me to go to school. Mm-hmm. I have not gone to bed yet because I've been watching this movie on loop. That movie was that good. Donnie Darko, to me, was that good. So thought-provoking.
I hear that, and I hear so many people love it. And then I pick it up, and I walk around with it, and I put it back.
It's because there's nothing can live up to the expectations that they all have set for you. Like, oh, it's amazing, Maybe. It's so great. And you're like, but what if
it's not?
Right? Yeah, and that is fair. I mean, I may be overhyping this movie to everybody, and people sit down and they're just like, why did he say it's that good? It's just not for me. And that's fair. And I'm never going to criticize anybody for that one, because this movie is a particular cup of tea. And it's also very, very 1980s. This movie was made as an homage to the 80s. As a matter of fact, Tears for Fears is featured in the soundtrack like 8 times. But I mean, it's got Drew Barrymore in it. It's got Homeboy from ER in it. Played the young doctor in that. It's got fucking Patrick Swayze in this movie. Jake Gyllenhaal, Maggie Gyllenhaal. I mean, this movie is absolutely spectacular as far as the cast. The soundtrack is great because I love 80s music. The only downside is it didn't feature Belinda Carlisle's Heaven is a Place on Earth. But Romy and Michelle had that covered, so we're good. The story was just mind-blowing. It's so deep, so thought-provoking. Mm-hmm. It's a movie that warrants multiple viewings in order to truly understand what's going on. This isn't just a popcorn flick. This is an introspective movie. This is a movie that means something. And whether or not that something equals nothing to you is completely up to you as well, because it's very open-ended as far as interpretation. Mm-hmm. And it also brought the song Mad World by Gary Jules to the mainstream. So, gotta love it for that. But yeah, Donnie Darko, deep cuts, man. Excellent, excellent, excellent pick. Some other movies that he's got here. Natural Born Killers, I definitely think should fall on that list as well. I think that movie was definitely ahead of its time. Oliver Stone flick. If you haven't seen it, you've definitely heard people reference it or quote it. Woody Harrelson, Juliette Lewis, Rodney Dangerfield in one of the most disturbing scenes ever shot on film as they do that sitcom homage. Tommy Lee Jones as the prison warden with the fly swatter. Fucked up movie, disturbing movie, a movie that mixes multiple styles of narrative, because there's an homage to sitcom in there. There's an animation sequence in there. It's a very disjointed, very disorienting movie that was way ahead of its time and way underappreciated, and finally found its cult status later on in life. Mm-hmm. So another good pull right there. So kudos to you, Ryan Dudley.
I mean, I thought of a couple that I had just downstairs that I thought were really thought-provoking and interesting. One of
hit us up.
Was a Robin Williams film called What Dreams May Come. Have either of you seen that?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, really interesting film. It's not Dante's Inferno, but it's
close.
Really similar.
Have you seen that one, Adrian?
I have not.
Oh, well, I won't tell you. I won't ruin it for you.
Oh, no. Tell them what it's about.
So great. So
you gotta know what this movie is about, especially considering not only the death, but the way Robin Williams died, because it stars Robin Williams.
Yeah. So, Robin Williams plays a doctor, and his children are murdered. Or killed in a car accident, I think it was.
They're killed tragically in a car accident.
Yeah, and his wife doesn't really get over it. And, it's hard to get over the loss of a kid. So they live their lives, and they try to make each other happy. And one night on his way home, he gets out of his car in a tunnel because there's been an accident, and he's trying to help someone that crawled out of their car, or he pulled him out or something. And he ends up getting, impaled and dies. And so he's in what appears to be heaven. And he ends up just missing his wife so much, and he's drawn to her. And he accidentally kind of haunts her. And she takes her life and is condemned to eternity
essentially
in
hell.
And it brings the question of, where is she? Can he save her? They're both in the, quote unquote, in the other realm, underworld, whatever you want to call it. But is there someone that can help him find his wife? Is there any saving her soul? Is she really damned? And yeah.
Without giving too much away as far as the rest of the plot, the whole idea is him traveling to the underworld to save his wife's soul.
Right.
Because she killed herself.
Right.
And it is one of the most beautifully made, haunting, and just moving movies,
it
especially considering how Robin Williams died.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen What Dreams May Come, Jesus Christ.
So good.
Oh my God, buy a box of tissues and give it 2 hours. Seriously, such a good movie.
Yeah.
Such a good movie. If only for the visuals, too.
The visuals are great. Like, that's what initially brought into my mind. I was like, oh, you know what? That was that great Robin Williams film, and it was so much going on.
Yeah, that one was definitely one of my favorites. Not a funny movie at all.
No.
Because you hear Robin Williams and you automatically assume comedy.
Yeah.
This one was not a comedy. This one was very emotional, but great pull.
And it was
great
dark.
Pull.
There was a lot of darkness.
It was dark, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very underappreciated movie.
Mm-hmm. I thought that one was, groundbreaking, kind of. And
underappreciated.
And underappreciated. Kind of fit into that category.
It was interesting. Just talking about that, the plot of that movie kind of reminds me of the Orpheus and Eurydice mythology or fable or whatever. But
very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar to that, yes.
That's it, yeah. Just trying to prove I'm smart. That's all. I know things.
I'm smart. I know stuff. All right, right on, man. So thank you to some of our listeners that contributed and threw some suggestions up on Facebook. All great movies. And pathetically enough, I've seen almost all of them as well. So if you haven't seen them, those are endorsements from other people, not just me. But I'm saying go watch them.
Right.
So Adrian, go watch them. Holly, go watch them. Me, looks like I've got 1 or 2 on that list. So there you have it, guys. You know where to go to support us if you guys want to. Patreon.com/artfulgremlins. If you guys want to email us a message, have us read it online or something like that, you can email us, nerdynomicon@gmail.com. If you want to find us on Twitter, you got me, at Robbie the Saber, spelled with an R-E. You've got Holly at...
Lunar Thistle.
You've got Adrian at...
King Awesome, 2 G's, first G is silent.
And the Fleas, take 2 minutes out of your day, rate us, and especially review us on iTunes. Seriously, all of those ratings and reviews that you guys have given, they really do make all the difference in the world. They help us climb higher in the charts so that more people can find us. They help us get more popular, and they help you guys become podcast hipsters. Because you can't be like, hey, I love these guys before they blew up if we don't blow up. So it's on you guys to help us climb on those charts. More people can find us. More content can go out. More episodes can go out. Holly can get on YouTube faster. Everybody's happy. There's multiple ways to win on this Nerdynomicon train. It's crazy, man. Be sure to check out our other show, Couldn't Be Models. That's our brother show. Some of our friends over at Synthaholics Podcast, the Geekiverse channel, Irrational Fears. All fun times, all good shows. Be sure to check those guys out. And we're going to get out of here for the week. So until next time, I've been Robbie.
I've been Adrian.
And I'm Holly Michelle.
Let's close the book.